The planet was silent. Its surface stretched endlessly under a copper-colored sky, streaked with violet clouds that flickered like distant fires. Dust swirled constantly, carried by the thin, cold winds that cut across the rocky terrain. At the edge of a jagged canyon, the human research outpost perched precariously. A small cluster of metal and glass structures reflecting the strange twilight. Elena Carter stood outside the main observation tower, her eyes scanning the horizon. She had spent years preparing for this mission, but nothing could prepare her for the strange feeling that crept up her spine now. The outpost was designed to monitor unusual signals from deep space, and for weeks, all had been quiet. Until tonight. Inside the tower, the rest of the team huddled around glowing consoles. Young scientists tapped keys nervously, trying to interpret the new data streaming in. The screens flickered erratically, displaying shapes that made no sense. Twisted shadows, faint outlines, moving patterns that seemed almost alive. Dr. Carter. "Look at this," said Anil, one of the junior researchers, pointing at a screen. His voice trembled slightly. Elena moved closer, her brow furrowed. The image was grainy, distorted, but unmistakably something humanoid. A figure stood in the middle of a barren landscape, its features obscured, shadows hiding any detail. And then a voice came through the speakers, quiet at first, almost lost in the static. "Don't look there. I'm not human." The words froze everyone in the room. Even the hum of machines seemed to quiet down, as if the planet itself was listening. Elena's mind raced. This had to be a trick, some interference from a nearby star or cosmic anomaly. But the voice, there was an intelligence behind it. She could feel it. And then, as quickly as it had come, the transmission ended. Only static filled the room. Did anyone else hear that? Anil whispered, his face pale. "Yes," Elena said, trying to steady her voice. "It's real. We're not imagining this." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Fear rippled through the room, subtle but unmistakable. They had trained for unknown scenarios, for strange signals, even for alien contact, but hearing a voice that directly warned them? That was something entirely different. Elena stepped closer to the main console. The coordinates of the signal began to shift, as if the source was moving. Her finger traced the numbers. "It's coming from the planet's dark side," she said. The words hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. The dark side was a place humans rarely explored. Harsh, unpredictable terrain, constant storms and near-total darkness made it deadly. And yet, the signal was coming from there. "We have to go," Elena said firmly. "If this is an intelligent being, we need to understand it. We need to know what it wants." The room was silent. The team knew the risks. The planet had already claimed minor accidents, and mechanical failures had left teams stranded before. But Elena's conviction was clear, and there was no arguing with it. "Prepare the expedition," she said. "We leave in 1 hour." The next hour was a blur of activity. Equipment was packed, environmental suits checked, and vehicles prepped for the harsh journey. Outside, the dust whipped against the outpost, a constant reminder of the unforgiving world they were on. Elena climbed into the lead vehicle, her eyes scanning the horizon once more. The fading light made the rocky landscape appear even more alien, the shadows longer, more menacing. Something about the darkness felt aware. She shook the thought away. It was just her mind playing tricks. The convoy moved cautiously, kicking up clouds of copper dust that glowed faintly in the dim light. Communication between vehicles was minimal, only necessary instructions. Everyone was focused, tense. The unknown signal pressed heavily on their minds. Hours passed. The terrain grew rougher, the vehicle suspension creaking under the strain. Storm clouds gathered in the sky, and the wind howled through the canyons, carrying a faint metallic tang. The dark side was close now. The shadows seemed thicker, almost solid, As if the night itself had substance. Suddenly, the lead vehicle's sensors picked up movement ahead. The screens flickered, showing shapes darting just beyond visibility. Elena's hand went instinctively to her side, where a standard-issue pulse rifle rested. But she shook her head. Weapons were useless here, against something she could not see. "Stay calm," she said, her voice low but firm. "Whatever it is, it's watching. We need to observe, not react." The team obeyed, but tension was thick. Each shadow, each shift in the rocks, seemed amplified. The human brain was not built for constant uncertainty, and their instincts screamed at them to run, hide, or fight. But Elena forced herself to focus. The vehicle came to a sudden stop. The sensors picked up the source directly ahead. A flat, barren plain stretched before them, empty except for a faint shimmer in the distance. The signal pulsed again, soft and rhythmic like a heartbeat. "Do you see it?" Anil whispered. Elena nodded slowly. The shimmer became clearer, a figure, humanoid, standing perfectly still. Its features were indistinguishable, a silhouette blending with the shadows, yet somehow separate, almost glowing faintly against the dark. Then the voice returned. This time closer, clearer, more urgent. "When you stare, you will freeze." The words were not a threat. They were a promise. The team froze instinctively, their minds racing. Fear was no longer a distant emotion. It pressed in on them physically, a weight on their chests, a chill crawling up their spines. Elena felt it too, but she pushed against it, drawing on every ounce of training and experience. "Do not look directly at it," she instructed. "Only through the sensors. We can study it safely that way." The team obeyed, eyes glued to the consoles. The figure remained motionless, but its presence was overwhelming. It was as if the air around them had become heavier, charged with an alien intelligence. The computers began flickering, displaying static that almost formed patterns, shapes that resembled eyes, mouths, faces, but none human. Elena's heart pounded. She had never seen anything like this. Humanity had explored countless worlds, but this was beyond comprehension. And yet, the HFY instinct inside her, the unyielding human courage, curiosity, and resourcefulness kicked in. "We need to locate the exact coordinates," she said. "Whatever it is, it wants to communicate, or at least interact. And we will find a way." As the convoy continued cautiously toward the coordinates, the shadows shifted again. The figure seemed to move, though not in the traditional sense. It was as if reality itself bent around it. Light refracted strangely, dust swirled unnaturally, and the wind carried whispers that sounded almost like speech, but none recognizable. Hours felt like minutes. The humans moved through the barren landscape, guided by pulses of the signal. Each pulse was like a heartbeat, drawing them closer, pulling them into the unknown. Fear and fascination battled within the team. Finally, they reached the source. The plain stretched endlessly before them, black rock under a copper sky. And there it was, the figure, still and silent, now only 100 meters away. It was taller than a human, but its limbs were strange, elongated, almost delicate. The surface of its skin shimmered faintly, like liquid metal, reflecting the faint twilight. Elena's hand rested on the console. Her pulse was steady, her mind sharp. She knew that humans had survived countless unknowns through intelligence and courage. This was another test. The figure shifted slightly, and the voice came again, louder, insistent. "Do not look there. I am not human." The words echoed in the canyon, reverberating through the vehicles. And yet, Elena felt a strange calm. This being was powerful, yes, but it had communicated. That was a start. "Prepare the sensors," she instructed. "We will observe it carefully." Nothing more. The team worked silently, adjusting their instruments to record every detail without exposing themselves. The figure watched, or perhaps sensed, but made no sudden movements. Every second stretched painfully. The humans knew one mistake could be fatal. As the first recordings began, the shadow shifted again. A faint pulse of energy rippled across the plane, and one of the junior scientists flinched, looking briefly at the figure's face. Or what should have been its face. His body froze instantly, rigid as stone, eyes wide in silent terror. Elena shouted, rushing to him, but even she hesitated. The figure did nothing. It did not move. It merely observed, intelligent, patient, inhuman. The team's fear intensified, but so did their resolve. Humans had survived every challenge thrown at them by the universe. And here they were, facing an intelligence beyond comprehension. Elena took a deep breath. We will not fail. We will study it. We will understand it. And we will survive. The figure remained silent, its presence overwhelming. The dark side of the planet stretched endlessly behind it, mysterious and dangerous. And the humans, small but unyielding, stood ready to face whatever came next. The unknown signal continued to pulse. The voice had warned them, yet it also beckoned them forward. Elena knew this was only the beginning. The adventure had begun. The frozen body of the junior scientist lay still, eyes wide and unblinking. Elena knelt beside him, examining his rigid form. Her hands moved with careful precision, even as a chill of fear ran down her spine. She knew they could not afford panic. In the face of the unknown, humans survived through intelligence and calm thinking. Don't touch his face directly, she warned. Use the scanning gloves. We need to understand what happened before it's too late. The team followed her instructions, their movements careful and deliberate. The shadowy figure watched from a distance, motionless, its presence a constant pressure on their minds. Even from hundreds of meters away, it felt as though the entity could see every thought, every small tremor of fear. Elena activated the portable sensors, focusing on the frozen scientist. The data flowed across the screens, subtle neural activity, strange energy pulses, almost like the body was being held in suspension by an external force. This is unlike anything I've seen, Enel whispered, his voice barely audible. It's controlling him mentally, freezing his body while his brain is aware. Elena nodded grimly. That's why we need to be careful. One wrong move, one accidental stare, and anyone could be next. The team moved in a tight formation, keeping their eyes on the monitors rather than directly on the figure. Every step toward the unknown was tense, the alien landscape making each movement uncertain. Jagged rocks jutted out like teeth, and the copper-colored sky overhead flickered with strange auroras that seemed to dance with a life of their own. Hours passed. The convoy moved slowly, cautiously, the frozen scientist carried carefully in a containment unit at the center. They were determined to reach the origin of the signal while keeping everyone safe. Finally, the ground leveled out, revealing a wide plateau of black rock. The shadowy figure stood at the center, clearer now than ever before. Its form was tall, slender, humanoid, but unmistakably non-human. Its limbs were elongated, and its skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the dim twilight. The being's eyes, if they could be called eyes, glowed faintly with a soft silver light. Elena signaled the team to halt. "This is it," she whispered. "We're at the source. Everyone stay calm. Observe, but do not engage directly. We need data first." The figure remained still, almost statuesque, yet the air around it seemed charged. Dust swirled unnaturally, forming tiny spirals that hovered in place before dissipating. A low hum vibrated through the air, a sound so faint it was almost imperceptible, yet it made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. Elena activated the long-range scanning devices. Images of the figure appeared on the monitors, clearer than ever. Every detail was analyzed: the shimmering skin, the slight elongation of its limbs, the subtle movements that were almost imperceptible. "Dr. Carter, One of the researchers said nervously, It's observing us too. Look at the way the particles move around it. It's not just standing there, it's reacting. Elena's eyes narrowed. Humans had faced many unknowns, but this intelligence was unlike anything they had encountered. It was aware, calculating, and possibly as curious about them as they were about it. We need to communicate, Elena said. But carefully, not directly. We can try using the sensors to send signals instead of words. The team quickly adjusted their equipment, sending rhythmic pulses of light and sound toward the entity. For long moments, nothing happened. The silence was deafening. And then a ripple of energy passed through the air, distorting the space around the figure. The glow in its eyes intensified, and the whispers returned, faint but unmistakable. Why? Do you come, humans? Fragile, yet curious. Elena's heart pounded. The being spoke, but not in any human language. The monitors translated some of the patterns into intelligible phrases. We mean no harm, Elena replied, speaking through the devices. We only want to understand you. A pause. The figure tilted its head, almost like a thoughtful gesture. Then it moved slowly, deliberately, its steps silent across the black rock. The ground beneath it seemed to bend slightly with each motion, as if gravity itself was distorted in its presence. Anil swallowed hard. Dr. Carter, it's coming closer. Should we stop it? Elena shook her head. No, keep calm. Observe, don't panic. The figure stopped only 10 meters away. It was close enough now that the team could see subtle details, the shimmering patterns across its skin. Like rippling water, the way its elongated fingers flexed slowly. Its eyes, glowing softly, seemed to pierce into the team's minds, reading fear, curiosity, and resolve. Then the voice spoke again, directly into their minds this time. Humans. Brave, yet fragile. Your minds. Racing. Fear. Strong. The warning sent a ripple of unease through the team, but Elena remained steady. Humans had survived countless dangers through intelligence and courage. This was no different. Observe its patterns, she instructed. Learn from it. Understand it. That's how we survive. The figure responded to the command in a way. It tilted its head and raised one hand slowly. A thin wave of energy emanated from its fingertips, passing harmlessly over the frozen scientist in the containment unit. The body stirred slightly but remained rigid. It's controlling him, Anil whispered. Or testing us. Elena nodded. Exactly. It's intelligent. It wants to see how we react. We need to stay calm, analyze everything. As the team continued their observation, strange phenomena occurred around them. Gravity seemed inconsistent. Small rocks floated for a moment before dropping. Shadows twisted unnaturally. Dust and particles moved as if alive, forming patterns that hinted at intelligence. Every sensory input screamed danger, yet the humans remained composed. Hours passed in tense observation. The entity did not attack. It simply studied, curious, patient. And then, suddenly, it vanished. Not by walking away simply. Gone. The air where it had stood shimmered, and the humans felt the absence immediately. The plateau was empty. A low hum remained, vibrating through the equipment and the team's bones. Then the voice echoed one last time, when you stare, you will freeze. A collective shiver ran through the team. One scientist, unable to resist, glanced briefly toward the exact spot where the figure had vanished. His body froze instantly, rigid as stone, eyes wide in silent terror. Elena acted immediately, but she hesitated, sensing the danger. Everyone, back away! She shouted, grabbing the nearest tools to assist. But the figure was gone, leaving only the frozen scientist as proof of its presence. Elena's mind raced. Humans had survived countless dangers by thinking, planning, and acting with precision. Panic would be fatal here. She ordered the team to secure the frozen scientist in a protective field, generated by their portable device. "Analyze him carefully," she said. "We need to understand how this works, and we need to avoid it happening again." The team worked silently, their fear contained by necessity. Elena reviewed the data. The entity's control over the human nervous system was unlike any known technology or biology. It seemed to manipulate the brain directly, suspending motor function while leaving awareness intact. This is beyond anything we've faced," Anno murmured. "It's not just intelligent, it's alien in every sense." Elena nodded. "Yes, but we are humans. We survive through intelligence, strategy, and courage. We will find a way to overcome this. We always do." The team continued forward, now even more cautious. They moved in small formations, using sensors to guide them rather than relying on sight. Every shadow, every flicker of light could be the entity observing, testing, or manipulating. As night fell fully over the dark side, the plateau seemed endless. The sky, a deep copper fading into violet, was streaked with auroras that danced unnaturally. The wind carried faint whispers, almost like the voice of the entity itself. Just out of comprehension, Elena paused, scanning the area through sensors. There, faint but unmistakable, a shimmer moved along the rocks. The figure, or perhaps another of its kind, was near. "Stay calm," she instructed. "We observe, we analyze, and we survive. That is what humans do." The team nodded, every movement deliberate. Humans had faced countless unknowns, from deadly storms to hostile alien worlds. And here, in front of an intelligence beyond comprehension, they relied on courage, reasoning, and resourcefulness. The shimmer grew brighter, and for a brief moment, the figure became partially visible. Its elongated limbs stretched unnaturally, and its glowing eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness and through them. Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Humans survived not through brute strength, but through courage and cleverness. They would face the unknown, and they would endure. The entity remained still for a moment, almost as if evaluating the humans. And then it vanished completely, leaving the team alone on the plateau. The frozen scientist their only reminder of its power. Elena's voice broke the silence. "We continue. We will understand it. And we will survive." The dark side of the planet stretched endlessly before them, mysterious, dangerous, and alive with secrets. And the humans, small but unyielding, pressed forward, guided by courage, intelligence, and the unshakable human spirit. The unknown had revealed itself partially, but the greatest discoveries and dangers were yet to come. The dark side of the planet was a place where shadows had weight, and silence was thick enough to press against the chest. Elena Carter led the team carefully, every step measured, every eye on the monitors, as if the slightest glance could summon the unknown intelligence that had haunted them for hours. The frozen scientist was secured in a containment unit, his rigid form a grim reminder of the entity's power. Elena could feel the tension in her team. Their breaths were shallow, movements deliberate, nerves taut. Every sound metal creaking, dust swirling, faint electrical hums felt amplified. The entity was near. She knew it. "This is it," she whispered. "We find it, we learn, and we survive. Nothing else matters." The team nodded. For humans, survival was never just about strength. It was about reasoning, courage, and creativity. And they had all three in abundance. The approach using long-range sensors, Elena scanned the plateau. A faint shimmer appeared near a cluster of jagged rocks ahead. The entity was waiting, or perhaps observing, testing again. Anna leaned close to a monitor. It's partially visible. I can see its outline. It's different." Elena adjusted the sensors. The entity's form shimmered, tall and slender, limbs elongated and moving in ways that seemed impossible. Its glowing eyes, or whatever they truly were, focused on them, intelligent and calculating. "Remember," Elena said, "we do not panic. Observe, analyze, and respond logically. One wrong step, and we could all be next." The humans advanced carefully. Each step on the black rock plateau sent small clouds of dust swirling unnaturally. The air itself felt charged, like static before a storm. The team moved in a tight formation, instruments ready, eyes mostly on the monitors. The entity suddenly spoke, not through the devices, not through the sensors, but directly into their minds. Elena felt the words echoing inside her skull, soft yet insistent. "You are curious, dangerous, fragile." Elena's heart raced, but she controlled herself. Humans had faced countless unknowns, from alien storms to unseen predators, and they had survived. This was no different. "We are humans," she replied in thought, letting her calm, steady mind transmit her intent. "We survive. We learn. We endure." A silence followed. Then the shimmer moved slightly, as if acknowledging her. Understanding the entity, the team paused behind a small ridge. Elena activated the field recorder and began documenting everything. Every pulse of light, every distortion in the air, every whisper that seemed to come from nowhere. Anil pointed to a monitor. "Look, its energy field. It's interacting with the rocks. The gravity is fluctuating locally. It's manipulating the environment." Elena nodded. "It's intelligent. It's testing us. And it's capable of altering reality. Locally, at least. That means we have to be precise, careful, and creative." The team spent hours analyzing the entity from a safe distance. They used reflections in polished metal panels to observe without direct line of sight. They noticed patterns in the shimmering skin, rhythmic pulses that could be forms of communication or signals. The frozen scientist stirred slightly. The entity had released him from immediate control, but left his body rigid. Elena studied him, cross-referencing neural scans. The being's method was clear. It could manipulate neural impulses, suspend motor functions, and induce temporary mental paralysis. But there was a pattern, a method. Humans could understand this. They always found patterns. This is not just an attack, Elena realized. It's a test. It's assessing us, our reactions, our problem-solving abilities. And we will pass. A plan forms. Elena gathered her team. We need to approach it safely. Use the monitors, the reflective panels, and the scanning devices. We learn from its behavior before direct contact. We avoid eye contact, avoid fear, and maintain control. They moved in a wide arc, instruments ready, reflecting light and data off polished surfaces to create indirect observation points. The shimmer of the entity shifted as they moved. It was aware, intelligent, patient. Suddenly, the voice returned, echoing in their minds. "You are brave, yet naive. You do not understand the rules." Elena focused her mind, transmitting clarity and calmness. "We do not need to understand everything immediately. We need to survive, observe, learn, solve. That is human nature." The entity paused. Then, slowly, it revealed itself fully. Its form elongated further, limbs stretching unnaturally. Skin rippled with colors unseen by human eyes. Its face, or the closest approximation, was smooth, almost liquid, reflecting the faint light of the distant auroras. Its glowing eyes met Elena's indirectly through the monitors. For the first time, the humans saw it clearly. And it was magnificent, alien, powerful, yet it carried an intelligence that recognized them, analyzed them, and perhaps respected them. Testing the humans, the entity raised a hand and the air shimmered. Small rocks lifted from the ground, suspended in midair. Then, a sudden ripple passed through the plateau. And one of the junior scientists froze partially, panic creeping into his expression. Elena immediately signaled everyone to retreat slightly and to focus through sensors. "Observe patterns," she said. "It is testing, not harming. Yet, we must respond with logic, not fear." The entity seemed to respond. The frozen scientist's body relaxed slightly. Elena realized it was mimicking human reactions, testing not just their physical courage, but their mental control. Hours passed. The humans observed and adapted. They sent complex signals using pulses of light and sound, carefully avoiding direct confrontation. Slowly, the entity began responding in kind ripples in the air, energy pulses, subtle movements that seemed almost like gestures. "This is communication," Elena whispered. "Not through words, but through energy, patterns, intent." The team nodded, understanding. Humans could solve problems by observation, analysis, and adaptation. That was how they survived. That was how they thrived. The climax, face to face finally, Elena decided it was time. They had gathered enough data to attempt a controlled, indirect approach. Using mirrored panels and refracted light, they created a safe path. The entity moved in tandem, its eyes or its awareness following them. They reached a position directly across from it, separated by a narrow gap. Elena activated a series of light pulses designed to mimic calm human presence. The entity paused. Then, in a moment that felt eternal, it communicated directly. "Humans. Clever, brave, unusual." Elena responded through thought and signals. "We survive because we observe, adapt, and work together. We do not rely on strength alone." The entity seemed to consider this. Its form shimmered, stretching and bending in ways impossible for human comprehension. And then slowly, it lowered one elongated hand. A faint energy wave passed over the frozen scientist, who finally regained full mobility. "Learned," the entity's voice echoed softly in their minds. "Humans survive through intelligence and courage. You endure." Elena breathed deeply. They had succeeded in the first true communication. The entity had acknowledged human resilience, problem-solving, and bravery. HFY the humans, our special theme, was clear. The resolution: the entity did not attack. It did not harm. It only observed, impressed by their ingenuity and calm reasoning. Slowly, it began to retreat, disappearing into the shifting shadows of the dark side. But before it vanished completely, its final words echoed in the humans' minds. "You are not like the others. Clever, dangerous. I will watch." Elena turned to her team. "We have survived. We have learned. And we will continue to explore." That is what humans do. The team began their journey back to the outpost. The plateau stretched behind them, mysterious and dangerous, but now a place where humans had proven themselves capable. Every step was cautious, yet confident. As they climbed over jagged rocks and through the copper-colored winds, Elena looked back at the faint shimmer where the entity had vanished. A faint sense of awe filled her. Humans had faced something beyond comprehension and endured. The frozen landscapes of the dark side no longer felt purely hostile. They had been a test, a challenge, and the humans had risen to it. The stars above sparkled faintly, distant and mysterious, yet full of possibilities. Anil spoke quietly. "Do you think it will return?" Elena smiled faintly, exhaustion heavy in her voice. "Perhaps, but it will respect us now. Humans survive through intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. That is what makes us human." The outpost loomed in the distance, small but welcoming. The humans had returned, victorious not through force, but through the qualities that had always set their species apart: thinking, courage, and cooperation. As they crossed the final ridge and entered the outpost, Elena felt a strange calm. The unknown entity had tested them, yet they had faced it and survived. Humanity had endured once again, proving the HFY spirit. Humans are clever, resourceful, and resilient. And somewhere, beyond the dark side, beyond the alien shadows, the entity waited, watching, learning. But for now, humans had survived. And that was enough. The adventure was over for now. But the universe was vast, full of mysteries and unknown intelligences. And humanity would continue to explore, to survive, and to endure. The unknown had been faced. The humans had triumphed. And the dark side of the planet, once a place of fear, now stood as a testament to human courage and ingenuity.